Hey, it's Lee. Welcome to Business Problem Solved. Today, great pleasure chatting with the Operations Director of Ornua Ingredients, Mr. Nigel Peters. How the devil are you?
I'm very good, Lee. And how are you?
Yeah, really good. Thank you very much. Really good. Thank you. We met a good. I don't. Might not be a good number of years ago, but a number of years ago, doing a course, didn't we, in Milton Keynes, I think it was, or around that area.
Yeah, I think it was. I want to say that it was probably 2015, 16, maybe.
And you've not aged a single day in those 6 years.
Yeah.
but for those people who don't know who Mr. Nigel Peters is, who is he, and how has he got to that seat today?
Oh wow, that's a big question, isn't it? Do you want the long-winded version, or do you want the?
I mean, you
the
can
short?
probably skip birth.
Okay, yeah.
But anything relevant from birth to today that you deem relevant.
Okay. Well, I've been in food manufacturing for, oh gosh, 25 years. Worked with 5 different companies in that 25 years,
Wow.
including the one I'm in today. And I fell into it by sheer luck. And I think that once the door of food manufacturing and processes and how things are made, have you seen the program? How is this made, or our factory? So when I got indoors, I was a 2-week Christmas temp. That's how I got
Wow.
into food manufacturing. And a friend of mine said, "Oh, do you want to fancy doing this gig down at a factory? They need a couple of people for Christmas for a couple of weeks." And I was like, "Oh well, I've got this sales job that that I've got lined up, and it's I'm pretty good at sales, so I think I'll stick with that." And he said, "Oh, come on, because you get a free hamper at Christmas." So that was the reason why I went. That this company were giving hampers out at Christmas. I thought, oh, for 2 weeks, a free hamper. Yeah, I suppose it's worth a gig. 25 years later, yeah. So I kind of went through the ranks. So I was an agency temp or a Christmas temp for 2 weeks. Went through that whole process of working on the shop floor, working in different processes. So food manufacturing, packing, warehouse, logistics, and as I kind of went through that journey, just got exposed to more and more of the processes around how that supply chain works. It just doesn't appear in a shop by luck. There's a process and there's a number of people involved in that. So I kind of touched base with all of those over the years. And I think the bit that has definitely been evident is, as one door closes, another one opens. And I'm not a career-minded individual. So whilst I sit here with the title of Ops Director 10, 15 years ago, I didn't sit here and go, right, I want to be a senior manager. I want to be an Ops Director. I want to look after a whole site. None of that was ever in my remit. I just literally would just, whatever I was currently in, I just made sure I was good at it.
Wow. Do you
That
see
was
yourself
it.
as successful?
From a work perspective,
Well, I'll just leave it open just for the time being.
yeah, okay. Yes, I think
Yeah.
the fact that I get up every day with a smile on my face. I love
Yeah.
interacting with people. I love the job that I do.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that every day is a winner, but in the grand scheme of things, I love, everything I do about my job, previous jobs, and they've all been part of a journey to get to where I am today. So yeah, I would say that
Yeah.
I'm successful in what I do.
What about out of work? Do you see yourself as successful?
That's probably a different question in terms of work-life balance is really important. And I suppose throughout those 25 years, there have been times when I've got that wrong.
Yeah.
And I've invested way too much into work. and not so much into the family time. And I've addressed that now, but certainly there have been mismatches in that work-life balance, and I think we could all argue that we've done that, where we've been on emails at 9-10 o'clock at night, we've worked on at the weekend, we've cancelled something that we had planned outside of work because something important inside of work was happening or needed to happen. So probably not got that balance as good as it should be, and I think most of us could agree to that.
Yeah, no, completely. I think it's a lot of people that I speak to have had that similar challenge. I guess when you think about the word success, what does success mean to you?
Being happy in what you do,
I
think definitely is important. Being happy in what you do is something that gives you the energy, because when you're happy in what you do, then even if you have those challenging days, they get you through it. And I always liken, and I've used this just recently actually. I work a lot on analogies, or trying to tell a story that resonates with people, so that it fits within their psyche, so it kind of lands home more. And I always think about when you book a holiday, and the holiday is in a year's time, because it's the holiday of a lifetime, and you can't just pay for it now and go now. You have to book it and plan for it and pick a day in the year, and it's a year or 2 years away. And you're saving and putting money aside because it's a really expensive holiday. So there is that kind of vision of success. When I get to that holiday, that is going to be it's going to be brilliant. I can't wait to get there, but it's not here, it's over there, and I need to get to it. And then when your best mate rings you on a Friday night and says, fancy coming out for a few jars and going to the footy, or going out on the town, or doing something that is going to cost a bit of money, you kind of go, really would love to go, but I can't, because I've got this vision in the future that is saying that's what good looks like, and I'm saving for it. And so you feel a bit of pain in the here and now. So you ring and say, unfortunately, I can't make it because I need to put some money aside. So I'm saving really hard for something. So you kind of hit a bit of pain on the Friday night, but it gets you through it because you know what's coming down the track. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
And so you have these peaks and troughs of, even though that Friday disappointment, if you like, is a disappointment and something that wasn't a positive or a success, actually that unsuccessful element of that particular day or part of the week is because there's going to be a bigger success down the line.
Yeah,
so that's how I gauge some things, and it gets you through around, it supports that journey.
Yes. Yeah, no, when you were going through that, I was thinking about how many times have I gone out for a pint on a Friday night instead of saying no, because it's got in the way of me maybe achieving what I've wanted to achieve, or getting to where I've wanted to get to, because the shiny object, the beer on a Friday night has been, in the moment, has been what I've thought I've wanted more, but then on reflection it hasn't. So yeah, I think it's it's a really good analogy. When you started telling us about your journey, you said by luck you fell into food manufacturing. Why? And I understand by luck, the hamper and stuff. Do you feel lucky?
No, it's luck. Yes, it's a phrase, I suppose, a by luck, and I'll probably put a little bit more meat on that. So I had this 2-week window of doing something, and I got the hamper, and I was like, oh, it was happy days. And then they wanted to, so they extended the contract. So we're going to take a number of people on, and it's for 6 months. Now, the bit that I didn't tell you about is, so me and my friend, we were there for 2 weeks, and he was in one part of the factory, and I was in another part of the factory. He was laying pastry onto a conveyor belt.
Yeah.
That was his job, just laying pastry onto a conveyor belt. And I was over at a hopper with rubber gloves up to my armpits, handballing pork meat into a hopper, and literally just handballing this meat into a hopper, you know, onions and garlic and whatnot. And I was looking over at him, and he was just going,
Yeah.
2 weeks we get a hamper, and I was just like,
Yeah.
this wasn't my thoughts of what good looks like. So, but actually I spun it on its head, because I realized, and I worked out quite quickly, that you can only put so much in the hopper, and then I would go and get another bin and wait for it to empty. And then I realized that actually if I fill this hopper as quick as possible, take it back to the butchery, get the next bin ready, I had 15 to 20 minutes where I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So then I started walking around and just having a sort of mosey around the factory, and walking up to my mate who couldn't walk off because he was tied to the line because it was on the conveyor belt. And he was looking at me, and I was just wandering around, going back to him, saying, actually, I've cracked it. And what I actually did was I started watching the team leader at the time, and I was saying, oh, what does that button do? Oh, this slows the guillotine down. Oh, what is this? Oh, this speeds the conveyor up. Oh, okay. And what you're writing down on there? Oh, this is traceability. I didn't know anything about traceability or anything like this. So I'm writing down the traceability, and I have to do that every hour, and I'm writing down the lot number. And so that kind of the relationship built over time. And then she'd say, oh, no, do us a favor, just nip into the toilet. Could you just keep an eye on things? So of course, I'm 6 months in, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just looking after the line.
Yeah.
Nothing happened, 5 minutes, and she went away and came back. And that progressed probably for, I don't know, another 8 or 9 months of just doing that kind of task. And by then I think I was made permanent. And then one particular night, she didn't turn in. She was off sick, and no one knew how to run the line. And oh, Sue's off, and what we're going to do? For the factory man as well, we're going to have to shut the line. And I was sat at the back, going really nervous, going, oh, I know how to run it. She's showing me how to run it. And then I just sort of put my hand up and I said, oh, Sue's been showing me how to run it. I know how to run the line. And this was back in the day before the times when you needed to be signed off and to risk assessed and health and safety, and that just got thrown in the deep end. And the factory manager, and this is where I say by luck, or there's a fork in the road there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Where he says, well, we can't do that. We'll just have to shut the line down. Or he kind of pragmatically says, what we got to lose, we've got a big audit that goes out in the morning. Let's give him an hour and see how he gets on. Now, by luck, nothing happened. There was no breakdowns. There's no issues. The line just ran as a dream. Made about 200,000 sausage rolls, and I think that's where the turning point happened, where the management team said, "Oh, this kid probably has got something about him." So there's a bit more to the story, but that's so I kind of made my luck by being proactive, by asking, what does that do, and what does this do, and what's this for, and being inquisitive.
Yeah, had you always been inquisitive and curious?
Oh yeah, I mean, sort of over the last, prior to this role, I was head of continuous improvement at Ornua. So and I've always had that mind of, why does that do that, or why is it doing it that way and not this way? Or how did it work yesterday, but it's not working today? Or why wasn't it working yesterday? It's like when sometimes the engineers will come to me and say, it's all fixed. And I went, oh, okay, what was the root cause? I don't know, it's all right now.
Yeah.
And you go, no, it's not all right now. It's going to come back and bite you in the rear when you're not expecting it. We need to find out, why is it all right now? If you've had no interaction with to making it all right now, then we need to find out what has changed. So I've always been inquisitive. When I was younger, my first ever watch that my parents brought me was a Timex watch. I was about 8 years old, and I took it apart to see how it ticked.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I mean, took it apart to the point where I didn't know how to put it back together again, because I literally just took it all apart. Oh, take that off, and what does that do? And why does it move like that? And what's making it move? And so yeah, that Christmas present lasted about.
What's kept you in food manufacturing for 25 years, Nigel?
I just love it. I just love working with the people. I think I'm a people person. So taking something and making it better, taking a process and making it better, taking a person and developing them so that they become better. So the two go hand in hand. People and process working better than what they currently are is certainly something in my later careers is something that it's definitely kept me in the game longer.
But you can do that in any organisation, in any sector. Have got processes and people. But is there anything, or what is it that's kept you? Because you've used the word love a few times when you've when you're talking about your role and your journey and stuff. What is it about food manufacturing in particular?
No, it's a good point about, and maybe the word food isn't per se the kicker or the trigger. It's just the manufacturing and the process. So it could be a manufacturing of barbarians, or or parts, or cars, or whatever it might be. So it's just the fact that I've just always been in food. There have been a couple of occasions where I could have come out of food and still had that same kind of process. So packaging companies, there was a job I nearly took before I come into this one, actually, but I didn't, and I chose this. So it's more the processes and people as opposed to the food processing people. Yeah.
So for somebody that started as a 2-week temp because of the lure of a Christmas hamper,
yeah,
that a few years later became ops director, and is somebody by their own admission that says that they're not ambitious, and they're like, what is one door closed, one door opened? What is the secret of your journey to get to where you are? How have you been able to progress to the level that you're at?
Always challenge yourself. So don't tick the box to say, this is what I'm good at, so I'm going to stay at what I'm good at. It's use those skills to give yourself a foundation, but then to give yourself some stretch around development. So what is it that I'm not good at? What is it that I need to be good at? Because there are two different things. So when you go into a new role or a new business, there'll be things that you know that you need to be good at, and then there'll be things that that may complement a current position, but not necessary. And I think some people choose not to complement it further, and some people choose to complement it and even go past and surpass that and be experts at it. And we talk about SMEs, they just become good at something and then take it a step further and become experts at it. So that's definitely one. Passion, absolutely passionate. I have a strong, high work ethic, but passionate about what I do. They're probably some of the key.
Yeah. And what's when we talk about leadership, what does leadership mean to you?
Taking people on a journey, supporting those around you. There was a course I went on a few years ago, and it's probably the best analogy that I've ever seen about leadership that sticks with me. And every time somebody that, like yourself or anybody else, asks me a question about leadership, that analogy jumped straight into my head. And I'll put it this way: is sometimes as a leader, you need to be in front of your pack, clearing the way, being visionary, making the way ahead or the path ahead as trouble-free as possible. Whether that's around strategy, whether that's around vision, whether that's around the next steps. Then there needs to be an element where you're part of the team, and so you're actually sat within the team as the leader. And what you're saying there is, I'm here to support. I'm allowing you and on the same journey as you. And then there's a time when you sit at the back of the team and you're saying, I'm empowering you and I want you to do the work and develop and be empowered, whilst I sit and support from the back. So it's this piece of being sat at the front, being sat within, or being sat behind.
Yeah, I love that. How have you managed to find that? In fact, let me ask the actual question. Have you managed to find the right balance for you doing between the three? And how do you know when maybe actually now you shouldn't be at the front, you should be in the pack, or you should actually be at the back rather than in the pack?
That's a good question. And I think, look, as you become more senior in certain roles, there is less of the doing that you can do with the day to day. And somebody told me once that you're like it's like being in an orchestra, and you're leading the orchestra, and you're there with the baton, and you're almost playing the music of your team, and directing and supporting. And from time to time, you can drop into the orchestra and you can play the trumpet, or you can play the clarinet, or you can play one or two of the instruments, but you can't play them all.
Yeah,
you can't play all of them. And this is where you're and so I think sometimes knowing when to be orchestrating and when to be in the orchestra playing along.
Yeah, got you. And you just sparked a thought, actually. So I ran a poll on LinkedIn a couple of months ago now, asking change people what was the number one obstacle when delivering change, and 65% of them said leadership buy-in. And where I'm going with this is you're a person that's had a change role and as a head of continuous improvement, who is now on the other side of the fence in the ops director role. So you are seen, maybe not internally, but you are seen in based on this study as the main blocker to delivering change success, when previously you were trying to engage leadership in buying in. How have you found that transition, and has being the head of CI helped you or hindered you doing what you do?
100%, 100% helped, and it's not a hindrance. And I suppose it's because I've sat on both sides of the fence. So I've had the frustrations of trying to take leaders on the journey, and now as a leader, I'm almost open-armed, saying, "Show me the journey. Show me how I can support." So it's part of my trait, which is, change will always happen. It has to, as you evolve as a company, as a person, as a society. If you just go back every 10, 15, 20 years about what we do today to what we did 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years, programs we watched 10 years ago, 15 years, 20, rules and regulations that we thought were fine and okay 20, 30 years ago, that we look back on today and go, wow, how do we even think that was acceptable? Or how do we even think that was the right thing to do? Because it was at the time, because we knew nothing different. So for me, it's about being agile and flexible. It's not about getting people ready to change and taking them on a journey. It's about getting people agile and flexible so that they're ready all the time for when change happens. So
as somebody that has been trying to, in your previous role, trying to get the leadership team to buy in to that change journey, and now being on the other side of the fence and welcoming it, what words of advice do you have to change professionals or to senior leaders about what they should be doing different to now?
It depends what the challenges are, I suppose. So it's quite a generic question, because it's trying to answer something that covers everything. But if I suppose certainly the communication, and we all talk about it, but that the communication piece is really, really important. And I think conversing with each other around what's coming down the track is really important. And I know you alluded to earlier about being ahead of the pack, sort of going ahead and finding out what's around the corner. I mentioned it yesterday to somebody. I said, sometimes when you're on a journey, it's never a straight road. You know, the road to the end is never straight. It's full of curves and bends, peaks and troughs. And you sit at the start line and you look ahead and you see the first bend and you don't know what's around the corner. And you're like, I have no idea what's around the corner. I need to get some more data, or I need to get some more information, or I need to find out what's around the corner. And actually what you have to do is start the journey and say, what I can tell you is I know from the start line to the bend what that looks like because I can see it. So let's prepare for that. And then when we get to the bend, we're in a position to see what's around the corner. And then we can then make the next decision and then decide what's next until we reach another bend or another peak or another trough. And I think having that agility and flexibility and confidence that says that we can prepare ourselves by starting the journey, and then we will flex accordingly when we get to any challenges, is definitely something that people should absorb, rather than just, I need to know everything. I need to know everything before I even decide that this is going to be a runner.
Yeah, no, love that, and the communication and collaboration, and when you articulated that right at the start, it was about both parties being supportive of each other, or collaborative, clear communication, because they're ultimately trying to achieve the same goal. But often, and what I've seen in different organisations is some change people have got what they believe the goal is, and then the ops leaders or department leaders believe that they've got what their goals, and there might be a little bit of conflict because they're only looking at it from where they are at that point in time. No, good, really good. So when you started your journey right at the beginning, you said, you could have gone into sales, but you chose the hamper and the 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If you were to give yourself a piece of advice, knowing what you know now, to that the young Nigel at that time, what advice would you give yourself?
Probably not to change anything. Not to change your journey. Now, look, have I made mistakes? Absolutely. Could I have done some things different? Absolutely. But I think that I'm not a believer in fate and things happen for a reason. But I think that you're on a journey, and those journeys are depicted by crossroads and by forks in the road. And you get to a fork and you make a decision. And a bit like the factory manager, he got to a fork in the road, was, do I shut down the plant, or do I let this kid have a go? You know, that they're elements that happen. And I think that if we were to go back through all of our lives and try and put the wrongs right, or the things that we thought weren't very good, then we're trying to create that straight road that I was talking about. And actually, it's a bit like the analogy about the holiday in a year's time. There's going to be peaks and troughs to get to it. But when you get to it, it's going to be great. And you've had to make some sacrifices along the way, but it was worth it. And so, yeah, I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, I love that. You spoke to thought about a Steve Jobs quote, and I think he said something along the lines of, you can only join the dots looking backwards. You can't join them looking forwards, because you don't know what is beyond that bend that is in front of you. But only when you look back over the journey can you go, actually, it went from here to here to here to here. And you're dead right. It's not a straight journey.
No.
What for you? So if somebody was at the start of their career, manufacturing career now, what would you say about a career in manufacturing?
Oh, I'm speaking from, so there's a little bit of bias here, but you know, I've had a great journey so far, and I genuinely have loved it. I've worked with some amazing people, worked with some fantastic companies, and if you find the opportunity to get into manufacturing, then you've got to give it a go, give it your all, because and not just in manufacturing, anything in life we do is if we don't give it 100%, we can never truly say that was or wasn't the best I gave it. You know, you almost have to say, I could have done no better than that.
Yeah.
And if I could do no better and I find out that I don't like it, then fine. But I would say definitely give it your all. Be inquisitive, certainly be inquisitive. Ask the questions, be curious. I'll tell you another thing as well, is be comfortable about being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Be comfortable about being uncomfortable. I remember years and years ago, I was in a meeting and I was very junior, and there were some big hitters, if you like, in the room, you know, senior managers, executives in the room, and there was little old me in the back of the room. And I had this question, and I wanted to ask this question, and I didn't. I bottled it. I was like, oh, they're gonna think it's a stupid question. I'm just not gonna. Maybe I should. And I had this inner voice telling me, don't do it, Nigel, don't do it. And then the other inner voice going, yeah, but it's a great question. And I think no one's asking. I can't believe no one's asking this question, and it seems so obvious. And I was probably for about 5 minutes having this inner conversation with myself about why I should and why I shouldn't say it. And then I didn't. And I said, wow, all these people in the room are very clever and well-seasoned individuals. If they've not said it, then it can't be important, because why would I have this question and no one else have it?
Yeah.
And so I didn't. And then somebody said it about an hour later, and everyone was, oh, that's a fantastic idea. Wow, I can't believe we've not thought about that. And it became a huge action and a project. So, and I remember going, darn it, I was going to say that and I should have said that, and I never. And there's a phrase that sticks in my head, which is 5 minutes of nervousness is worth more than a lifetime of frustration. So here I am 20 years later,
Wow.
Still resonating about a question that I never had asked that I should have done.
Yeah.
And so be inquisitive, get comfortable with being uncomfortable,
Yeah.
because you know it'll open more doors.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And yeah, you just don't know where those doors are going to lead, no matter what it is that you do. No, fantastic. I've just a couple more questions, Nigel.
Okay.
What are you having for your tea tonight?
If you'd have asked me yesterday, I would have been all
Yeah.
posh, because I think you said, you know, if it's dinner or if it's tea.
Yeah.
You know,
was it dinner last night?
So I went out. A friend of mine who was staying over, because I work away from home and I'm away for a few days. So we went out to an Italian restaurant. I had calamari as a starter and chorizo risotto for main. But tonight it'll probably just be egg on toast. So, and there's those balances. If you'd asked me yesterday, it would have been all glorious. You asked me today, it's something totally different.
Who knows what answers?
Yeah.
No, perfect. No, thank you. I just want to say, Nigel, thank you very much for your openness, your honesty, the conversation today, and the value that you've shared. If people want to know more about Mr. Peters, where's the best place for them to go to know a little bit more about you?
Oh, come and hit me up at LinkedIn. I post every now and again. I was going to say that I do have a TikTok account, but that's it. I have an account. Yeah. Instagram, Facebook, all the norms, but yeah, probably from a professional perspective, LinkedIn.
Have you done a TikTok lip sync or dance yet?
I did it before. It used to be called TikTok. Remember when it was, what was it called before? It used to have another name before that, Dub Smash or something like that, I think it was.
Well,
there you go.
Hey, no,
so yeah, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even longer.
Yeah, amazing.
But I haven't done. What about you? Have you?
Yeah, I've got. I've done one lip sync so far. I'm at the point of recording this. I'm 6 days into my TikTok journey. I'm going to try to post every single day, and just see where it goes. I'm posting business stuff as opposed to lip sync and dancing, partly because I used to DJ, and the reason why I used to DJ is because I can't dance or sing. So TikTok really isn't for me, but I'm trying anyway, giving it a whirl, seeing what happens.
Do you know what you're doing? Do you know what you're doing, Lee?
Oh, go on.
You're getting comfortable at being uncomfortable.
I am indeed.
Yeah.
I am indeed. No, perfect. Honestly, Mr. Peters, thank you so much for agreeing to chat with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure to catch up, and good luck with everything that you've got going on.
Hey, it's been my pleasure, Liam. Thanks for having me, and enjoy the rest of the day, and have a great Christmas if I don't speak to you before then.
Cheers, Nigel.